they messed up our bill, and so it was taken, he messed up the total. And so I had to have the right receipt because it's for. Right.
He went out and beat him. He said he had not done it to you.
Oh, yes. See, I thought I had my stuff laid everywhere.
He said that's the only thing he never
No problems on tickets.
My daughter sent me a picture
I didn't see that.
of a big old wolf that was killed in Braxton County.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They're getting close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought you had mine. Yeah, I signed up. We got stuck at the smokehouse.
Get anything to eat?
Please circle the
Yeah,
number.
they messed up my receipt, and I had to have a receipt because it was GCDA paying for it.
That's an extra. You have one? Okay.
Well, I don't see deer out and around. Where I think in general, I just don't see it.
I can smell my essential oils in my coffee.
But I agree.
That's what I said, we really, nothing we do about
Well, it was a long day, Charles. I'm glad that we stayed because it gives you some idea of all that comes in. It's overwhelming. Oh, yeah. You need combat pay for a day like that.
It's amazing when you use it.
Always placing that six to start. At this time, I would like to call the meeting of the Gilmer County Board of Education to order. And at this time, Tom Ratliff is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 on our agenda, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Blankenship.
It's a pleasure to introduce Geneva Jenkins tonight. And Geneva is going to tell us about the West Virginia Ambassador Program.
Okay, so I'm here because I needed to get a paper signed saying that I could be an ambassador of West Virginia for basically the rest of my life. I'm just going to tell you about everything that I did while I was there. And it was a really good privilege to be able to go. And I met a lot of new people and made a lot of new friends. Well, started out, we were on the University of Charleston campus. We stayed there for about 5 days. And we took nature walks through the forest. And then we met the First Lady of the state. We got a picture taken with her and talked with her for a little bit. And then we met the mayor of Charleston. And we attended the 150th birthday celebration of West Virginia, which was amazing. The light show was, I don't know how to describe it. It was really beautiful and it was creative too. And there was a lot of fireworks. And Ray spoke, I was able to. And then Cultural Center and did some interpretive dancing, which was interesting, kind of funny. And then, we went to the play center and listened to the symphony play and learned that 0 was a really important number. And we went to a cemetery where a lot of historical people were buried and learned about the history of men. And then we took another walk. It was through a garden. I think it was a butterfly garden. It was nice to see all of that too, especially during the summertime. It was really pretty. And we got to do mock legislature, which was interesting because we got to make up our own laws, and it was cool to figure out like what other kids thought needed to be passed to make the state a better state, and to see what would actually pass through our views as opposed to adults. And we got to see which ones of those would pass. And I think that's basically it. Had a lot of fun though. It was an honor going. I wanted to thank you all for that.
When was your camp and how long was it?
It was 5 days and it was in June. I think it was June 12th to the 17th.
And what class are you in this year?
I'm in 9th grade and I have Mr. Honey as a teacher this year, and Mr. Ferris and Miss McLean picked me together.
What were some of the items discussed about idealistically what would be better for the state?
It was just certain laws, like ours was that you wouldn't be able to drop out of high school. There was ones about driver's license, raising the age for those, and ones, of course, about drugs and what that, like the punishment for doing it, that it would be increased in the time that you stayed in jail and stuff like that.
Why did you want to raise the age for the driver's license instead of lowering it?
Because a lot of accidents happen due to younger people, especially distracted driving. Any more? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your report.
You made a good presentation.
Very good. Yep. Just only. Are you ready?
I have a little boy, he's at home, my dad sick, so.
Yeah,
That's
finals.
okay. She has finals, so, yeah.
No problem. You ought to be proud that you don't see anything like that. That's very,
The next, I just include the closure hearing is a matter of information to you as part of the report.
one person doing Gilmer Elementary School.
That's the one we're calling at the.
No, it says the location of the closures.
Oh, that was corrected. It's Glendale.
That is at Glenville.
Yes, yes. Yeah, we caught that before you came out, so.
Okay, anything else on fiscal closure?
That's all.
All right, we're down to item 4, board reports. Mrs. Starkey.
The Administrative Council met at the Career Center on November 19th. The meeting was called to order at 12 o'clock with Mr. Blankenship, who's the Vice President, presiding in place of Mr. Propscott. He was absent. All the other members were present. There was no delegation, and the October 15 minutes were approved unanimously. Mr. think Ron's got mine now. Mr. Stern, got it. That's age, Tom. Mr. Stern gave his reports, and this is Mr. Dana or Dr. Dana Womack from the SBA came to do a walkthrough address for the MIP that we had. He was new to the SBA, so it's not somebody that we're familiar with. The reason he was there was on the MIP, the needs that we were talking about were new tile, parapet wall finishes, and plumbing in the fixtures and painting of doors and trims. These items were supposed to be in the regular old MIP that we, however, there's not enough money to do these items, so we had to come back and ask for more. We should know about the MIP at tomorrow's meeting. The date we're supposed to be told was December the 5th, and we'll know tomorrow. When we do know, then I'll report whatever came there at the next meeting. The work key results were discussed for math, reading, and locating information, etc. The standard scores is 4. Networking, say, would be 5, and math would be 3. Some of our students are struggling, and we're trying to improve, and I'm talking about we being the Career Center, trying to improve by having a problem of the day and also how they are tested. The WIN program placement, all students were tested. 20 students passed, and we had the first student that scored 8 on the score, and we're very proud of that because that's not something that comes very often. We also had 7 too, by the way. I tell you the student, but maybe his parent wouldn't want me to. We're trying to test those students we think will pass first. This will get the students doing, the students that have passed doing their subjects and better things, and we'll be able to focus on the ones that are needed, they help the most. We are trying to predict who can pass so that Darlene Smithson, who is our doing remediation down there, can go ahead and work with the remediation because she's very good at it and she works hard doing it. Mr. Hughes, the state representative for our council, asked if we had a good response from the teachers working with word keys. And the reason for his question was the teachers would have to teach reading and writing instead of the subject that they were employed to do. And Mr. Stern's answer was that teachers realized that our students needed the basic skills if they turned out the total project in their class subjects, and they worked very hard on the work keys. We have a former teacher from the center down there, and she probably could tell you anything you want to know about the work keys, because she had to do that too. Mr. Stern reported on the technology center that worked. He reported that Dr. McNally will be visiting the school to train instructors on embedded higher level learning processes. A MOU is required for this program with Mr. Grimes of the State Department. Dr. Hopkins of Gilmer State College took the team to Bridgeport to hear a program to embed academic skills in the CET program, and a teacher was also sent to Cedar Lakes to study the embedding the higher academics through video classrooms. A question was asked to find out if Calhoun High School would be starting their program like Gilmer County High School at Work program was going to start, so we could apply the higher academics such as math and things and these things for our children. Mr. Whited, Calhoun Board of Education member, suggested that they do a presentation for the Calhoun Board, and maybe they would enter with Gilmer County High School so we could collaborate together. There are 63 seniors at Gilmer County High School. It requires 30 is needed to access the programs to work at the high schools. And we had no problem, I think, getting those. The new maintenance supervisor is Randy Ball, and he will replace Mrs. Schlepperheimer, but I'll discuss that later because we have something that we have to do radioactive on that tomorrow. All financials measures were approved where the bills were just the bills or the additional bills at that time were presented for payment. Contract with Gilmer County PSD report from Mr. Stern presented a contract from Bowles and Rice. He had one for the water project made up for Bowles and Rice. I'll pass this copy along to you. You can take a look at it. If you'd like a copy of it, put your name on the back of it. So we needed a contract with the PSD, so this is how Mr. Stern took care of it, and I think it's the way that should be taken care of. Mr. Stern summarized the access of the SBA grant with Thrasher Company to start the ball rolling. He met with the PSD, and he offered them $50,000, as I reported before, but we need a total of $84,000 has been applied to our system already for renovation. The PSD said they may be able to start the summer of 2014. Now, I think there is a problem with this project right now. I read about the meeting that Mr. Stern had with PSD and Thrasher. However, I do not want to report on it until tomorrow, until I get all the facts together, and then I'll report the next meeting on it. There is a slight problem here that we may not be able to accomplish just exactly what the PSD and the center tried to do together. And we got a little bit of standing there. Mr. Stern stated that he would also need $34,000 would be needed additionally to hook up the water project, and we may be able to use the SBA money that we have left over, if that's the case. And that is the difference between the 50 we're giving him and another 34 that we're giving in the SBA, which would make a total of 84 that we needed for the whole project. A contract was entered into with Dan Minnie, he's the financial director for Calhoun, for preparation of the annual fiscal report and also the financial statement. And we're paying him a total of $3,000. The question is asked why, if he's already down there, would pay more, because Mr. Minnie has to do this on his own time. After his normal work day, he can only do Calhoun's work and then come back and do this later. In the general discussion, Mr. Stern reported on the open house. This year they put a lot of booths, and if you've ever been to the Career Center, they do a lot of type of booths, also displays on the walls, and everything is just excellent. And they had 12 students that came even without their parents on the open meeting hours in the house, and they performed excellent all the time. We had a Veterans Assembly. It's the first time we've ever had a woman from the Air Force veteran, and she spoke, and the students, Mr. Stern said, were absolutely perfect. We also had a Venison 101 class that stationed out of the hide of the pole by the West Virginia Extension Agency should show the proper butchering and cooking of the deer. They also had a chainsaw 2-day program by the Division of Forestry, which went very well. The Venison 101 is this. They held it in the shop with a donated tied deer, and we had a professional butcher, and they told him how to wrap the tenderloins and how to make deer meatballs and deer jerky, and also there's in the back of this is recipes and things that they made down there and ate that day. And this is Snyder can tell you it's fantastic to see what they can do down there. I'm so proud, and all of you know that I'm very proud of that Career Center. A hunter safety session was held right before deer season to remind the students about the safety and also tree stand safety that Mr. Stern felt that he needed to consider. He's also considering a possible pesticide program in the future with these students. A discussion was held also on the addressing the 180-day new school calendar and the effects on the center. As all of you know, there's some things in this calendar that we have to do. The elimination of the ISE days is one. We have to make up early dismissals, and we also have to make up 2-hour delays. And this will put us further in the evening with this. The snow days must be made up, and we won't be paying, the state won't be paying the teachers the day they're home. They'll make them come back and make another day of that. And they're extending more weeks, and I don't remember, I'm thinking it's 42, Mr. Blankenship, 42 to 45 weeks or something like that.
49.
49, I know, they're extending the time limit that we go to school from one time to the other. The questions were also talked about was the testing of the West test, so we could have the schedule the same as the high school, and should be everybody performed at the high school instead of bringing them down there and trying to have the teachers down there to perform something for a few of them. Our next meeting is tomorrow at 10 a.m., was requested by the two superintendents because they had other meetings to go to, and we'd be delighted to have you. Thank you. And if you want one of these, put your name on the back end. There's good recipes in there. And I'll see if you get one.
I hardly know where to start with the OEPA report. If you recall, at our last board meeting, we had representatives of the Office of Educational Audits here at our board meeting, and the audit team spent a considerable amount of time here in the county talking with people and examining records. They made a great point of studying the data that we've generated, and Mr. Blankenship and I had an exit interview with the audit team, which they shared some of the key points that they thought we should be interested in. And the one thing that I was glad to hear time after time, we think you're in full compliance. And I think that by and large, I felt good with the exit interview. We still have a few issues, and I think I admitted to the team, Ron, that we did have. But I can also tell you that the audit team was extremely positive about the forward movement that we've made since the intervention. And certainly Mr. Blankenship has done a lot of work, a lot of it behind the scenes, no fanfare. But the one thing that I was particularly proud of, they were very, very interested in teacher certification, and they were very proud of the fact that we had improved the certification of our teachers in the last couple of years. So, Ron, you deserve a lot of credit for accomplishing this. At the board meeting, we were given partial control of our schools, and you have the approval recommendation before you. We are given back curriculum, policies, finance, except decisions regarding facility finance expenditures. And there's a purpose for this. Before the facilities plan is completed, we certainly are going to have some issues with the existing schools. I think the concern is that you can't put $200,000 or $300,000 in a building you're going to abandon in a year or two. And I think that this is good business in that you cannot throw a lot of money into a facility that you're not going to utilize. So in terms of finance, we have control of finance except for facilities. And I'm assuming that the minor issues that we go to day-to-day maintenance, we probably can go ahead, that will go ahead and be done. But any major expenditure regarding facilities is still the prerogative of the state. We have transportation and the establishment and operation of a school calendar. And of course, this is something, again, it may seem like a small matter, but when we get into the Lynn School, it's going to be very important that Gilmer County and Lewis County have a compatible calendar. We're going to have students going there from both counties, and by and large, we can't have two different school calendars. So this is something, again, that we have control over. The board indicated that they still have some concern in developing board leadership, and that some additional time is needed to support the board in making difficult personnel decisions that are imminent this current year. And I think one of those decisions certainly has to be in hiring a superintendent. I think that almost everyone who talked with a member of the audit team expressed the desire to hire a superintendent in the future who has no political ties to Gilmer County. And I certainly would agree with that. I think that and Gilmer County is not alone in having a lot of politics involved in schools. And I think by and large throughout the state of West Virginia, this has posed a significant problem. And so there will be a major challenge in filling that particular position and maybe others. And I certainly think in working with the state board that it's to our advantage as we move to make good, solid personnel decisions. We need time also to support a comprehensive educational facilities plan. As you know, the plan that's moving forward now calls for a consolidated school and the closure of 3 elementary schools. We're very, very hopeful for funding for that school from the SBA. However, I think it's the board's feeling, and I think it's the feeling of the state board, that you always have to have a contingency plan. I'm reminded of the good wife of Bath and Chaucer, who said she wouldn't give a leak for a mouse's heart that had but one hole to run to. And I think that what we have to look at is, let's say that for some reason our school is not funded and we have leaking roofs and declining enrollments, what is our backup plan? What's plan B? And I think that our CEFP committee needs to take a look at that, and this board needs to take a look at it. I think regardless of whether that school is funded or not, I think there's an awareness of this. It was pointed out we've been losing enrollment. We lost, 43 students this year. And this has been going on for a decade. And so we are not going to be able to financially operate all the schools that we have now, whether the new school is built or not. It just is not, it's not financially feasible. And the one thing that you have to have, of course, is funds to keep a building open. I think that the fact that all counties now are looking at closing some facilities, and we had a county there at the board meeting, and they're trying to decide what schools to close. They're going to have to close some schools. It's not an easy thing to do. But I think that this is something that we have to look at, and we need some help in doing it. The state retains personnel, facilities, and finance regarding facility expenditures. The OEPA thinks we're far enough along. They are recommending that we begin the next phase of the transition of Gilmer County schools back to full control. And they recommended that we initiate an exit agreement between the Board of Education and Gilmer County Board of Education. And I think that's something that's doable, not in the distant future. I think it's something in the near future that we can accomplish. I think overall, given some of the challenges that we had, our county has come a long way. And again, I think Mr. Blankenship has done yeoman's work in a very difficult situation. And I'm not alone in saying that. The state board and the audit team recognizes it, and I think, Ron, we owe you a great debt.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer for what I know. But it was a full, long day. The one thing, having to stay at a board meeting for untold hours, you get some idea of the complexity of this business that we're involved in public education. It is almost beyond the ability to wrap your head around all that state board has coming in there. It's not getting any simpler. It is getting very, very complicated. And unfortunately, our schools have become a dumping ground for almost every social problem that's out there. And like it or not, it's part of the work we do. And in the midst of all that we have to do, we still have to teach our students the tools that they need to go out and be competitive in today's world. And I still believe that for a student in Gilmer County or any other West Virginia county, having a good competitive education is their best chance in life. And I think we all have an obligation to see to it that our outcomes are such that our students can be assured that they can compete with their counterparts from other schools. That's a goal certainly that I think we should all have. I think the team was pleased. They were very positive. We didn't get any questions from members of the state board. It passed unanimously, and so the ball is in our court now. And I think we're ready to move on those things that fall within our realm of responsibility.
I think, I make a comment. In reading through that exit plan, we're still under the bright spotlight. It's provisional. We're still under that spotlight. We gotta carry on business as business should be carried on.
Absolutely.
Because if I read into that, they can go back at any time and just take it back again, you know.
You're right, Tom. In fact, we were told before the meeting that one county, they were ready to give part of it back, and the board president stood up and quarreled with them, and they made them sit down, and they didn't get anything back. They asked me before the meeting, you know, what are you going to say? Well, I'm not going to say anything except that we're going to continue to work to stabilize our board, that we're going to work on improving our outcomes, particularly to high school, and we're going to get our facilities issues settled. That was fine. But you're right, Tom. We weren't just given a blank check.
I've got a question on finances, particularly on these school finances. For instance, Sanford and Troy both have severe leaks in their roofs. And if we cannot fix those, and then we close the schools and we want to turn them over to somebody that's going to use them for sports or whatever, because we're not going to have any more of these sports around the county, and we'd still like to use those gymnasiums for that purpose, to let each community have a sports center, or make them into something, craft places for them to go or something. I don't think leaving roofs off of school buildings to damage them is going to do us too much good. My question is, are they going to fix the leaky roofs? I know that in 2011, right when they took us over, Troy was leaking severely, and they put this big slush, what I call a slush plastic down, and it leaks in. I think it's still up, isn't it? And I know that in Sanford, there's buckets on tops of roofs to avoid the leaks coming down into the schools. I think that we've got to fix those things. Our students are going to still be there at Sanford, 2016, 17? And we can't have them there with a possible roof falling down on their heads. So we're going to have to say to the state something, are you going to allow us to fix the roofs? In 2011, when we did have companies to come in there, and I think one of our Troy people can say, and I know there's one here from Sanford, we had people to come in to fix those roofs. They did not fix them properly. We said, don't pay them till they're fixed absolutely properly. But by that time, they took us over and they were paid, and now the roofs are doing the same thing they were doing before. And we need to fix those roofs for the sake of the children for the next so many years, or whatever we do with the Troy school. I hope we just don't dump it and just leave it there. And if we don't fix some of this stuff, I think it's our duty to make sure that our children are safe in those schools.
We've got a contractor coming within a week to look at those costs. We've got to do some patching.
Okay, because see, we did actually had them to put new roofs and do the patching and rolling off. They didn't do it properly. I hope it's not the same company.
No.
There was some blistering or something that had
Remember?
happened on the rooftop, and it just,
That
I
was
think
the
it was-
sand fort.
yeah, it was
Yes.
weather related and it blistered and never properly sealed properly, and so that's probably what's recreated the problem she's talking about.
But the
Yeah.
one in Troy's the same thing. And
Yeah, Troy has
I think it's still leaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got
It's
problems.
still leaking.
We have problems with our
Good.
sand fort pantry.
Someone,
I'm interested in making sure it's safe for the children and the possibility of the community being able to use those after we leave them and not just leave them deteriorating so bad, like this Tanner building that we just can't do anything with.
Yeah, we've got to fix it.
It's gotta be fixed.
Yeah.
But if we don't have any say in it,
Well, the state is going to have that responsibility, and I'm assuming, working with the superintendent.
well,
that
if he's
that will be
already
done.
told them and said, hey, this has got to be done. I mean, I don't want them to come back in here and say, well, you said something and we're not going to let you have anything back because you opened your mouth. But we need to, there's some things that we're gonna have to say.
yeah,
Those
those
have got to
are
be done.
concerns.
Those are concerns. And the others in personnel, you said something about where we are in personnel and taking over the personnel and what we're going to do with personnel. I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't have personnel.
No, but I said the state kept them and said, you know, we're not giving them back
Because, well-
because you're all not ready for personnel.
Well, I
Because the major
think, I
things is
think the one
happening.
thing that they are concerned about, Phyllis, is our ability to fill the superintendent's position. For one thing, it's going to be difficult to recruit someone. And I think Ron and I've talked about it very candidly, it's not an easy position to come into an intervened county, or one that has been intervened. I think that, the state wants us to be involved in that, but they don't want us
Saying-
making a grand mistake in choosing someone who would not be a good qualified superintendent.
But I don't think we ever did choose someone, Mr. Simmons, that wasn't good material to be a superintendent, including you.
Well,
I
that may
don't
very
think we
well be
did do
true,
that.
but Phyllis, we're not in control of that.
I know, but what I'm saying, I'm more concerned not about the superintendent's position that we're talking about, because they're gonna keep it till, Lokanor freezes over. But the whole point here, I'm concerned about is, are we going to have rifts and transfers and everything coming the end
Very
of the
well
year?
have, we very well will have.
That's what the teachers would like to know, and that's what we would like to know.
Well, with losing 43 students, Phyllis, I think it's obvious that there will be some rift.
No, we just had 5 back in Normantown, I
Now,
understand.
if you want to do that, or I want to do that, that's not a pleasant job for anyone. Not that I would dodge it if it had to be done, but I think it's very clear that there will be the possibility of at least a couple of rifts. I mean, it just, if the money isn't there, it isn't there. And we've lost 43 students now. And it's, I know it's a very difficult thing, but the finances drive most of the decisions that we make. And if
Well,
you
I
don't
know
have
that.
money, you
I've been on
can't
the
do
board
it.
quite a number of years. I'm sure that I know these things. But the whole point here is, what I'm concerned is, and they asked me that question, if we would give you back personnel, what would you do? How would you control the personnel? I said, we would do nothing because we don't have any right to control the personnel. That's the superintendent's right. Only he can recommend the personnel and what to do. And she said, well, if you had your choice of who you would get rid of, what would you do? And I said, ma'am, I would give a 5th grade teacher, even if we had one child, to be a 5th grader. That one child has as much right for a 5th grade teacher as anybody else in the county does. But the whole point is, she said, well, who would you get rid of if you didn't have the money? I said, one of the 4, people that's doing technology, that's repairing things for us. We don't need that many repairers, and so on. But I cannot say anything about anything, and when they say, let's not give them back personnel, we have no right to do personnel. He's the only gentleman that can recommend personnel. We can't,
But we approve his recommendation.
but we have to approve it. That's why they didn't like. And I explained that to them. I said, if you had asked us why the 10 that we took, why we took out 5 of the 10, 3 of those people were people, and I think one of them's in the audience right now, that they were taking out wasn't the one they should have been taking out. They should have been taking out another person that was in the step. And we would had to go to court if we'd taken out those. So 3 of those were that. One of them was our math supervisor, which we needed desperately to keep our math supervisor to help our children. That one had. And the other one was frankly a person at Normantown, a teacher at Normantown or a principal at Normantown that wasn't going to use us as a stepping stone. And I told him that. And I said, that's the only thing we did. And the superintendent decided, we said, could you give us another one? And he gave us another one. That's all we can do. So when you say, you'll have to look at personnel and you can't do personnel, you really have to look at the state law and find out, we can't do personnel to begin with. Only the superintendent can do that.
Well, but we approve his recommendation.
But if
That's
we
a
don't
role of
approve
board
his recommendation and we heard that, I think he can vouch for this, we heard that the person that we just hired had tried to commit suicide or had tried to kill another person, and I call and say, hey, won't you look at that? Well, I'm gonna take your school back away from you because you can't say that. Well, I don't want that person in my school system. So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to say, and the superintendent didn't know that this was happening. I mean, unless you tell him.
Well, Phyllis, these are all the day-to-day things that go with boards and administrations, and I guess, we can get into that in our memorandum of understanding. But, I want to answer any questions you have about what this provisional approval means.
That I just got my answer. In your opinion, it means just the superintendent.
Well, I'm assuming personnel. It says right here
personnel.
very clearly, making difficult personnel decisions that are imminent this current year.
But I'm asking you, what are those things?
Well, I have no idea.
Well, it's
They
hard
didn't tell us.
It's hard for us to know if they don't tell us, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
but we don't know. Somebody could resign tomorrow.
See, we don't know these things, so when they
That's
make
true.
a blatant statement like that.
When you
we're-
asking the question, what was the question you had? I mean, we
Clarification.
have to accept what the state board has said, or we end up with nothing.
That's the whole
So
point I'm
something
making.
is better than nothing, so I
There-
think we have to approve their,
I agree. They've given us an opportunity to get full control back. Not yet, but they give us the opportunity. I foresee in the next 6 months, we could have it all back.
I think it says 2-year probation, if I read it correctly.
yeah, but it says or sooner. Or
Sooner.
Or sooner, it's
It's
2
never been
years.
done in this state.
2 years or sooner. I would hope at a time that we get into closing the Doris School and setting up the teaching force, administrative force at the new Leading Creek School, that we would have some input into that as a board, along with Lewis County.
We should have.
We're about a year away. That's gotta be made next February, January, February, doesn't it?
Yeah, what you do, Tom, is actually the advisory council, the governance structure for the new school will actually make that recommendation to the Lewis County Board. That'll be whoever your superintendent is, the board president, and their counterparts in Lewis County, as well as a member appointed. Just similar to the administrative council of the county of Career Center. And those are the folks who'll be doing the staffing and making recommendations to the Lewis Board.
That will be
That is-
included in the memorandum, sorry, Tom, I didn't hear you speak, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure that we had some representation there for our teachers.
Yes.
Yeah, the bill that was passed, I think, gives us,
Has there been a memorandum of understanding drafted between Gilmer and Lewis with all the detailed information about the governance? Has there
Yes.
been anything signed?
Yeah, the law actually added to the memorandum of understanding that we have together with Lewis County.
You mean you don't have one?
So that's pretty much etched in stone.
okay, Mr.
There's one
Superintendent.
other one, Mr. Davis, and I know you think I'm just trying to be mean to you, but I'm not. I'd like clarification. and I think we need clarification so we know what part of the system we're into. The other one is on transportation. What do you mean by transportation? If it is back to transportation, what does that mean?
I'm assuming that that means buses, that means everything that goes with the transportation.
But does not include any transportation to the new school or to Loss County School or anything like that?
There,
Because
nobody
it-
said anything about that.
Well, but that would be under the auspices of saying that it's facilities, deals with the facilities. That's what I'm saying. Do we have anything on saying which part of the district of this county are we taking our students from and which part we're not? That's what I'm asking.
Well, transportation deals with everything from trips to transportation expenditures to,
I realize that, but I'm talking about with the facility thing, clarification.
there's nothing to do with this.
Has nothing to do with, we cannot do any bus transportation and asked about districts or where they're coming from or
Sure.
who we're going to take, or
Yeah, sure.
we have nothing to do with that?
Sure you can.
I'd like to know where we're going to get those students from, now that Mr. Mason says he's not going to send his sixth graders, which, you know, that limits probably, I don't know how many students, because I don't know how many he's going to go to.
I think that the sixth graders have an option, don't
56.
they? Fifth and sixth have the option.
Yeah, but their option is if they've been over there 1 year, Tom, at the school over there, they're not going to come back for the next year to the elementary school when they're already been there a whole year in the fifth grade. And that's the problem that Mr. Mason's having with it, and I understand that problem, I wouldn't.
Well, they're not gonna really know until another year because, you know, it's not gonna open for another year.
But still, yet, one class of the fifth graders are already gonna be over there when we do open, so they don't wanna come back just because they're sixth graders, and that's what I'm saying.
That's the option of it.
That, they're not going
We have nothing
to,
to
they
do
won't
with it.
leave their friends and everything they can do to come back to be an elementary students instead of, you know, a junior high student, which they are now.
That's a decision Lewis County made.
Yeah, I think he made the proper decision for him, for his county.
Okay, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of discussions concerning our status of authority and issues that come up, and that's part of what boards do. All right, Mr. Superintendent.
You have three
Trip requests.
Mr., the question on that, you notice the two there, one of them's already taken, isn't it?
No. Well, today.
Yes. it's
One was
already-
taken to
Yeah, it's
Buchanan.
taken. But the question I have, if you go down there and read, and you're both going to the same place, and the mileage for one is much higher than the mileage for the other, but they're going to the same place. Does that make sense to you?
I don't follow you, Lois.
All right.
You have one to, you have one trip to Buchanan, you have one to
Yeah,
Fairmont.
one was
Road.
$131 for the bus driver to take him to the movies at Buchanan, and this same one was going to the movies at Buchanan, was not going to cost $45. Was that,
Well, one is from Glendale, one's from Troy, you have a different distance there.
what, 10 miles?
Yeah.
That would be 100 miles, and that still would be $131.49, $292.20, and the other one's only $90.
Well, when it comes in, doesn't mean that's what it's gonna be paid, obviously, those
Yeah,
things are,
that's what I'm
those
saying.
things are always
It's,
prorate. But you've got a difference there of, between Glendale.
There's a difference of
and
$1,000
Troy.
altogether on the whole thing.
One has.
It says driver's hour 15 on the one, and the driver's hour is 8 hours on the other.
I think this one, they used,
45
they
cents.
took 3 buses.
And they used 45 cents on one, and the other one used 50 cents, if you noticed.
Well, that's the, that was mileage.
I know what our mileage is, but
Those are
are they
cleaned up when they
different?
come to
What
the
I'm
business
asking, are
office.
they different buses?
Yeah.
Are they school buses? And school buses, the mileage would be the same, would it?
No, they're
for both
school
of them?
buses. And those trip requests are cleaned up when they come to the office.
Yeah, okay, that's what I'm asking, because it does get into a little bit of problem. But the one has already been taken.
Yeah, that was today.
And the one trip request I noticed didn't have any information down the side of the cost. I see that it's going through the levy funds, but there is no information as to the cost. I just wondered if that needed to be more complete, just for,
The levy fund is part of the
For
school
the-
finances, it should be.
just for auditing purposes is all.
Well, the one right there, I seen that, Misty,
There's,
but I think it's one where it says PTO is one for it.
This one has a band trip that's,
Oh,
it's
band.
check
It
levy.
says levy, it's check levy.
And there's
it's,
no
it's all
cost
state
estimate.
band. Typically, if they're small groups, they take the van.
Okay.
See, there's no mileage data because they
There's
take
no
the van.
mileage.
But they did check that the board was suing the portion of the levy.
That would be fuel for the van.
Yeah, but it needs to be put over how much we're taking out of the levy and stuff. Since now that we get the finances back, it might be important for us to know how much it's gonna cost us.
Yes, do I hear a motion to approve the trip request?
Retroactive, yes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, item 6, consent agenda. Mr. Blankenship.
One thing I want to point out that the policy, that's simply for your information. It still has to be approved by the state, and then the one comment for 30 days. And the rest should be self-explanatory.
Any questions, comments?
I've heard questions on the finances, but I'll wait till I can ask them
Give,
next time when we can act on it.
Yeah, give Kelly a call on that.
I did, but usually she says she doesn't. She told me. We never did find out what the little panties were.
Okay, let's move on to item 7, the Gilmer, West Virginia Board of Education Memorandum of Understanding. Spells out in detail some of the things that we talked about a little earlier.
And that is an action item.
Any questions, comments on it?
Made the same comment that Mr. Radcliffe made. If we do one thing wrong, they'll take it out. Hope we know what we're doing wrong.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
I make the motion we approve.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. All right.
I guess that means you can sign it.
I can sign it now. Okay, item 8, board concerns.
I have a concern. We talk about 40-some students. That's serious. It all comes down to dollars. And the way I understand the funding from the state, that's equivalent to about $250,000 a year loss of funding the students. That's a lot of money. That even makes the finances more. And this is what we get back when it comes to expenditures in the county. And I start sitting down with this and start making a matrix, putting in categories of expenditures, and after a while, I say, it's impossible. Just forget about it. It's crazy. And I've come to the conclusion it's impossible for any board member to take this and have an in-depth understanding of looking for opportunities to save money. So what I'd like to have is a discussion, maybe how could we simplify this so that every board member would actually take the time to go through here and look where the money's going and see if there are opportunities for it. I have no question about honesty or goodwill or anything else. We're like a board on a corporation. We're responsible for the outflow of money. And if it's so complicated that you're not gonna take the time to understand it, we're just sitting here doing nothing.
I think you're right, Carl, and some of us have talked about it a little bit, and I wonder if maybe it would be of more benefit to the board. It's okay to have this information, but if our chief fiscal person in the board office could maybe give us a 5-minute or so overview of the situation with the school's finances each month. I think that, that gives us the big picture of where we're going and some of the obstacles we have, some of the challenges. Because I agree, it was like sitting at that state board meeting. After a while, you're totally saturated, and beyond that, you're lost. And there's so many figures here. And it may very well be that 2 or 3 key points, if we needed the detail, then we could go to it. But I think if your finance person could just give us a brief update on the financial condition of Gilmer County Schools, maybe at each board meeting, that would be of more benefit to us as a board, I think, than having a whole lot of information.
That's the monthly financial statement. That's all the revenue and all the expenditures that go there.
It's necessary to have that.
It's necessary to have that.
You have a list of all the bills that were
necessary to have
paid
this.
and all the transfers and supplements. That's the way most boards of education report, or the finance folks report to boards of education.
I mean,
We can have Kendra give you an explanation of each of the reports if you'd like.
Or just an overview to give us a way of putting all this together.
I had an opportunity to ask a question. For an example, somewhere I was trying to dig through it, I couldn't find it this evening, but there was an entry of $6,000 for interest and penalties to the city. Now, that's a flag, why are we paying $6,000 for interest and penalties? I'm sure there's a logical reason, but I'd sure like to
If
have
you
an
don't
opportunity to
send
ask
money
something.
in, we have to pay, the schools have to pay tax to the city for space and area, just like we do our house that you live in. The same thing, it's not paid on time, we don't get a penalty. But there's other things in there that, and I do look at everything in here, and I've marked questions all the way through. There's no use for me to ask them because the state's still taking care of it. But one big one I had is on Pomeroy. There's $40,000 in there on Pomeroy to do the wiring and the cording again in the buildings. They did it the last time and did it all wrong. Did they have a bid or anything on that this time?
No, all your tools for schools money, which is your technology money that comes from the state, has to be spent off the state contract that they have with Pomeroy.
But that's what I'm saying.
And so,
Last time, all the wiring and everything was put in by Pomeroy, and they blamed it on everybody else except Pomeroy.
Most of what you're looking at there is for any additional drops that we might have. We added additional wireless access points to the high school for wireless computing. Most of that is to make sure that what we've got coming up with the online testing, West Test 2, the last year is this year, and it's online. And then next year, as you well know, we'll go to the smarter balance testing. It's all online from there on out. So we've got to make sure that we have the infrastructure right so that we make sure the students are being kicked off when they're online doing the testing.
We thought we had it right the other time, let Pomeroy do it, and evidently we got written up 100 times saying, it was all wrong. But the problem I have here is $40,000, and you have to put out bids for those.
Yeah, you don't.
under the law, you do,
Yeah.
but not while the state's running it, I'm
Yeah.
saying.
No,
I
Not even
realize that.
then. The law says, that the state law says that when you use those monies, it can't be used for other kinds of things. It has to be, if you're gonna buy
Oh, I know that.
computers, those computers have to come from Pomeroy, because they have the state bid.
I don't think we have to take the
So they
state
have a
bid.
blanket bid for the entire state.
We can use the state, but we don't have to use the state.
Yes, you do, Foss. You have to use, any monies that are spent from your money for tools for schools have to be spent off the state fund.
And that's sad.
You can use local monies to buy from whomever or for whatever you want. But your technology money that comes from the state has to be
Is
used.
all the $40,000 we use in technology money, not levy money or anything else, is all being used in
Actually,
state
we used
money?
about, I think actually we used almost $80,000 in total that came through for technology.
But that's what I'm saying. But what bothers me, if we keep doing the same wiring that we've done, back in there. and
Well,
then
you're not
we'll
doing
go back
wiring.
in.
You're doing
Well, it
additional,
says in here we are.
you're doing additional wireless access points. That's a
Well, see,
device.
that's what it doesn't
That's a
say.
device that you
It
put
does say this.
in a classroom that all your wireless machines feed to.
Now, I know what it is, but what I'm saying is, it does say it in here that it's for rewiring and wiring. It says in here.
Well, wireless access point is part of the infrastructure for wiring.
But I just hate to have it, we thought we were doing so well with technology, and they told us we were doing wonderfully, and then all of a sudden we were doing poorly, and now we're doing the same thing we did at the beginning and stuff.
I think that really is an ongoing thing all the time. As technology changes, it's expensive to
You're
keep
missing
up
the
with
point.
technology.
You're really missing the point, but that's okay.
I'm always here to get the blanks.
Okay, any other board member want to discuss a concern? I think, as I mentioned earlier, the need to go ahead and extend our facilities planning to incorporate what happens if the consolidated elementary school is not funded. I think that's something that certainly we need to move ahead with. While I hope we don't have to implement it, one never knows, given the state's financial situation. Okay, we're ready for delegations, and I would like to remind folks that 3 to 5 minutes, and we will begin with Teresa Jenkins. She'd already signed up. Dendra Miller.
Okay, my question has to do with just what you're saying, your contingency plan. I talked with Mr. Blankenship briefly the other day about the school closing meetings, and he said, that you're just going ahead and planning those to get them done, out of the way, basically. So if the funding went through, that step would already be taken care of. Have you even considered what Mrs. Hurley has been asking for the last several months, considering working up another levy in case that doesn't pass? Give the people another opportunity to vote for 2 schools.
Wouldn't do that unless we're not funded. Then it could be.
But
considered.
that's what I'm saying, you're having these meetings ahead of schedule just in case. So why wait? I mean, so it sounds to me like Mr. Simmons' plan is to still just close 1 or 2 of the schools, or,
No, there's no plan B at all right now.
right.
If the facility isn't funded, then we'll have to look at what we're going to do with facilities until another year. Now, obviously, we know that we've got to do some roof patching at least in 2 schools, regardless of what happens. Because those roofs they're just not going to last unless we do some patching.
So at the point that you find out whether you got the money or not in April, at that point it would be too late to put together something to run with the May election, right?
We've got plans to do that.
Okay. I'm wondering what the big hurry is for these school closure meetings. Because I'm afraid that at the time of the year that you won't have very many people coming out, whether it's for weather, for, I'm just afraid that you won't have very many people to come out. I'm not sure what the hurry is with the school closing meetings.
They have to be done. It's a matter of just another checklist.
Before you find out if you get the money?
There's nothing wrong with that. Many counties do the hearings before they take it to the SBA.
So what, for example, if you had a lot of people come to these meetings and say, we need 2 schools, we're willing to do what it takes for 2 schools, will you listen?
I would listen, but as far as I'm concerned, the request is made to the SBA. It's up to them if they're going to fund it or not.
But if they don't, then you need to have another backup
Then
plan.
you'd have to look at Plan B. Right.
But considering 2 schools and letting the people help pay for it is not even a consideration for Plan B.
No, I didn't say that. I said it's not a consideration currently,
Okay.
because we have a plan that we've submitted.
But you need a Plan B. Could you just have that like in the back of your mind as a Plan B? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, Kimberly Bond.
I have a handout for you all.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yes, Bill. I'm here speaking on behalf of the teachers and the GCEA members in Gilmer County. Our local association and affiliate with WBEA, I'm here to tell you about the competitive pay salary campaign. I've given you a handout. WBEA kicked off this campaign in September, and the goal is getting salaries of employees to levels of competitive with our surrounding counties. Excuse me. The average salary ranking for teachers in West Virginia has dropped from 30th in the nation in 1993 to our current ranking of 48th in the nation. Additionally, we've lost touch with the average salary excuse me, of our surrounding states. The salary gap between West Virginia and our surrounding states has increased greatly in the last 10 years. That information is included in the pamphlet that I handed you. Our goal is to influence the governor and the legislature to create a multi-year plan to get us to a competitive level and to maintain that ranking. We need your assistance in voicing our concerns to our elected leaders. Quality employees in our school system are key to improving our schools and improving student achievement. It is an undisputed fact that throughout our state, school systems are having issues recruiting and retaining their employees. Throughout the state, the changing workload, low morale, and frustrations of our jobs, combined with the number of educators who are excuse me, eligible or nearing retirement, is growing exponentially. Our dedicated and highly qualified employees are leaving the system, and it is becoming more and more difficult to replace them. This isn't about us, but it is about the future. Fewer and fewer of our high-achieving high school students are pursuing careers in education. A big part of the research into why they are selecting other careers has to do with the long hours, the hard work, and the low pay of educators. We need to begin the process of reversing those trends and making education a more attractive profession. We will be presenting a resolution of support for our competitive pay salary campaign. Our local affiliates in each county have presented this to their boards and are getting them signed. We will share that resolution of support from our local board with the State Board of Education, the legislators, and with the governor. I will have that resolution to Mr. Blankenship and Dr. Simmons, and for all of you to sign at a future date, and thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? there's a lot of information in your pamphlet, and you can look over that, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
You can probably, this is one that's really interesting to me. On the second page down there, you say the average salary of central office employees. Has that been publicized in West Virginia, so the West Virginia people really know that? You know, I understand that it's not uncommon for people in central office to have salary over $100,000 a year.
Right.
And,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
and if people don't know that, I don't know if they'll support you as much as they would if you say, you know, hey, do you really know this? The people in Charleston get twice what a schoolroom teacher gets?
Well, as part of the campaign that we're supposed to be doing is
Yeah.
to talk to local businessmen too,
Yeah.
as well as our Board of Education, to go to the EDA and to talk to our everybody in the, all of the employees are supposed to be emailing our legislators, and we go, and we have people that go and lobby and try to explain these things. And recently, our president and our executive committee for WVEA met with Gail Manchin, the
Right.
president of the Board of Education, and I'm trying to remember the man's name. Another board member, I can't remember now.
Yeah.
And Linger, yes.
Yeah.
And discussed with them and went over this whole, there's a PowerPoint in which we're planning to have a
Good.
local kickoff, if you will, and invite some local people, including the Board of Education. We haven't set it up yet because we're not sure about the date.
It really angered me, and I shouldn't say that probably, but to see the salaries that some people in Charleston get. And yet I see that we're 48. What are we getting from the money?
Right.
What are they doing to contribute to better conditions in the house? Are we
And-
doing, test scores, anything? What have they done as a result of the money the taxpayer pays? And come around and criticize, show me how to do it better. How often do they come around and talk about what we can do to contribute to academic achievement? They talk about process.
And money,
It's
And
a lot
money.
of
and
No
staff
doubt there
students,
is.
and the teacher of the constant. The thing I think you need to stress very highly is the hazard pay that you need anymore.
What?
Hazard pay, hazard,
What's that?
that is, the teacher standing in the classroom doing child acting.
Oh,
Hazard pay. I mean, it's getting more dangerous constantly, and it's just plain hazard pay.
The competitive county, states around us though, is not so much an issue in this county as it is some of the, the counties in the eastern panhandle and Oregon.
We've already had.
Thank you for your
one shooting already,
you.
Normantown, if everyone remembers it.
Really?
Okay, Norma Hurley.
Okay, I'm going to try to run through these quick. Dr. Simmons, you spoke of improvement that they told you at the OEPA exit of the certification of our teachers. I would like to see the statistics to back that up. Our last audit, the main problem was coaches, not that they're not valuable, but they certainly don't equate to an English teacher. I would actually like to see the number of fully certified, not pending, not training, not attempting to get it, but the fully certified teacher for the position that they are teaching in this county. How many do we have? I'd love to see it. Love to see it publicly reported. I think that'd be a great idea. Transportation, I do have a question on that because I read the policy that was put out that said that the superintendent alone made the final decision of where a child would be assigned, what district they would ride in the transportation districts. We've not yet seen any transportation districts assigned on the pending consolidation. I'd like to see that. Dr. Simmons, you misspoke. I don't believe you intended it. You said close 3 elementaries when you were talking about going down and how you watched other counties at the state board closing some of theirs. Remember, sir, they're not asking us to close some of ours. They're asking us to close all of ours, all 4. All right, that's a big emotional difference. When you have 10, 12, and you're closing down to 5, it's not quite as bad as when you have 4 and you're asked to go to 1 and put all of your kids in one place and travel everybody, no matter from where, that you have left. We worry about 43 students. We better worry about the rest of them we're giving that at the school in Lewis County. All right, I know we're sharing, you know, we can go through that till the cows come home, but it takes money away from our coffers that we can ill afford on top of 43, as you well know. I'd like to know when we'll see a copy of the new needs request that was just submitted to the SBA by Mr. Blankenship. I'd like to see a copy of that. I'm hoping it's at the board office. And also, I'd like to know where the budget is for 2013-14. Has anyone seen a copy of the line item budget for 2013-14? I did not see it published in the paper. I would like to see it. So, with that, I'll let it go. I think the memorandum of understanding is an insult to this board. This board's already been 3 years under full control. I think it's an insult to say you can have 2 years of probation, and only if you do what we say you should do may you keep your status of partial control. But it's what you have to endure. You know, I don't envy you that, but I don't think it's right, and I'm not going to sit here and say it is. Thank you.
I know we're not supposed to get involved in the debate or there. I'd just like to remind everybody, the first meeting that I attended for training, the person running the meeting said, I have one piece of advice to board members and counties that have been taken over. And all of them, these people have heard of Folger's book, Everything I Need to Know, learned in kindergarten. He said, here's the advice. He said, hold hands and dance with people. In other words, keep your mouth shut, do what you're told, and you come out okay. So, at times, you gotta bite your tongue and do the best you can. I think we've done the best we can.
Well, I think we all learned in 8th grade civics the various levels of governmental authority.
It's true.
And the state does have authority over county schools. And I can tell you that if we had all total authority back, people would be very shocked at how little authority you really have.
Oh, no, I agree. You don't have what the state has, you never will have. Some of it, I think, is debatable constitutionally. But they've done it, and they've been permitted to do it until someone stops them, they'll do it.
That would have to be debated in an
It
arena
is,
that's
that's
far
not
above
here.
my
I agree,
knowledge
Dr.
level.
Simmons, I agree.
All right, well,
There's just
listen,
one point here, when you're talking about hold hands and smile and let it go. I'd like to see you say that to Bill Duty after 18 years in Mingley County. He's been down there 18 years waiting to get their school system back. That was terrible.
You're not gonna have to wait that long, fellas.
look,
I'm not sure of that.
we're
I'm not sure of that.
closer than,
But
well, I'm
why
not
would they
gonna
do
predict
that?
the future, but we're within months. If we do what we need to do to get our schools back on a solid basis, I have every reason to believe, and those folks at that state board level were very honorable people. They were very honest with us, and I'll admit, we've still got some warts on our county that we have to deal with. But,
Would you tell me what those words are?
well, no, not tonight.
I've asked that question over
Oh,
and
come on,
over.
Bill, kiss the frog.
Not tonight. All right, well, the one thing I think our auditors agreed, I've never seen a situation that didn't have problems. I've never seen a board of any kind where all members totally agreed with everything. I've been around too long and too many boards, but you have to have a vision, and you have to pursue that vision, and you also have to have the tools to do it. Right now, when I was over at Normantown, I talked with some women whose husbands have to work out of state. And they said, we don't have a family anymore because my husband gets in once every 2 or 3 weeks. I'm raising the kids. And we don't have jobs in our county. We have a very poor economy, and we're not alone. And until we can get jobs for families, our enrollments are not going to grow. And that simply is a reality that we have to deal with. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what creates employment. I knew when we had an industrial society. I don't know now. But we have this to wrestle with, and it's not easy, and it's going to take a lot of
35
compromise.
years, 37
And
years.
I'm going to end
All of them had a
on a
state
positive
name.
note. I think we've been given an opportunity to improve our situation. I think that, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road it'll take. But we're headed that way. And I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And let's look forward to the new year of moving ahead with our schools. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
So, and I second.
Stand adjourned.
Who's?
Actually, I know, Misty's not gonna say anything bad, but, I know you're not gonna say anything about it, but I wanna thank you, in front of the rest of the board members for what you did with, the delivery of the clothes. I think it was
Perfectly fine.
She,
Happy to do it.
She delivered over, 50 coats today and other items.
Is it? Along with the kids on
Is that for? Welfare.
While we was